welcome back to my channel. My name is Aireonna. I wanted to do something a little bit different. I usually pre-record these videos and I thought it would be fun to show you guys a little bit of what's going on. Look at the hundreds of 49er fans. They go, I don't know if I can get up on here without getting yelled at, but look at how far back they go. Oh my goodness, 49er and Buc fans everywhere. I'm outside the Buccaneers Stadium, Raymond James Stadium, and the 49ers just won a horribly ugly, disgusting game. I wonder what all these fans think about the game. Uh, um, but okay, it was 20-3 is the final score, and I feel like the final 2 minutes is what matters most. The 49ers were losing, and Brock Purdy, who I felt like had a poor first half, but then really stepped it up and played like an elite quarterback. They also had him throwing the ball way more than he usually does. His stats for the game are 25 of 36, but for 353 yards, quarterback rating of 119, QBR, fourth quarter comeback. Obviously not fourth quarter comeback touchdown. They did settle it on a field goal, but he played really well, specifically at the end.
I have a question.
Tell me, what's your question?
It's where's the area you are?
I'm live on YouTube. I don't.
Yeah.
Scream your question when you figure out what your question is. By the way, I don't know if I can see the comments, so if you guys want, you can comment. But anyways, like I said, I think Brock Purdy really redeemed himself at that.
Where's Lot A 3D?
I genuinely don't know. I'm from San Francisco. But I think we're in like F, so I think it's on the other side of the stadium. Because we're in F. This is, so I think it'd be like that way by the entrance. But I'm not sure. I don't want to. But we're in Lot D right now. See, Raymond, that guy has a Brock Purdy jersey on. But sorry, you guys. Once again, maybe I'll do a more structured video with all the. I didn't listen to Kyle Shanahan talk about the injuries yet. I just thought maybe it'd be fun for you guys to see everyone who's here with the 49ers. And it's hard because obviously the Bucs are also red, but lots of 49ers fans out right now looking happy. You happy the 49ers won? Yes. Yeah. What's your name? Ethan. Ethan? Did you have a fun time at the game?
Yep.
Yeah? Are you glad that Brock Purdy won again?
Yes.
That was a good making up field goal, right? Because
Do you
think he saved his job?
Yes, he did.
Because like he was gonna get fired.
Probably.
But like you can't fire after the game winner.
No, you can't.
But all the guys off the couch, there was not one miss this year.
Yeah, I know.
I can't see my
Third round kicker, it's tough, but it's a win, so you take what you can get. Bye guys. Anyways. Okay, so let's run it down. Like I said, I felt like Brock Purdy played really well at the end. Baker Mayfield looked so slick. Did he have what did he have on him that Nick Bosa couldn't bring him down? That would have been a very embarrassing play if the 49ers, I mean, it's still embarrassing, but if the 49ers would have lost, that would have been running on every ESPN channel that exists, every morning show. You know Nick Wright would be playing that. But luckily for Nick Bosa, who could not bring down Baker Mayfield for the life of God, luckily Jake Moody did make that fourth attempt after missing 3 field goals. But to be fair to Jake Moody, what happened? I'm filming you, not me, promise. But to be fair to Jake Moody, and it's his job, he needs to make freaking kicks. What lot was that guy looking for? Because now I realize lot 5 and 7 are right in front of me. I stayed in Airbnb, so I walked here, so I don't know about all the cars. But I probably shouldn't be giving out my exact location while people are watching this. Don't come. I mean, if you want to say hi, you can, but only if you're nice. But, okay. Kyle Shanahan has really regressed as a play caller. The same issues that have been bothering the 49ers presented themselves again. Red zone woes, even with Christian McCaffrey. And Christian McCaffrey was not back in limited fashion. I talked about this on the 49ers Collective with Grant Cohn, Chase Sr., and Jesse Naylor. I also talked about it on my own channel with Sports Illustrated Tom Jensen. I figured maybe Christian McCaffrey would get 15 carries. He got 15 carries in the first quarter. So he's back with zero restrictions. He also played really, like, there was one, I mean, I'm thinking less about his running and the catch that was down the field. It was fucking beautiful when they really, really needed it. That was very impressive by Christian McCaffrey. I do think in the run game, you can tell he's maybe, I don't know if injured, but just not in football shape yet. And there's positives and negatives to this, right? One, if you're not in football shape, I'm worried about you playing because I don't want Christian McCaffrey to re-get injured. But at the same time, maybe much like Brandon Ayuk or Trent Williams, who were getting into football shape as the season happened because they missed training camp, obviously for different reasons, not for injury. But they started rounding out into football shape after 3 to 4 games. And if you put 3 to 4 games, that's going to be right before the playoffs. We want the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey, but every player on the 49ers to be playing their best when it's playoffs time. By the way, I realize it looks like I'm like in a construction zone. I'm outside of the stadium. There's far less people now. Earlier, I was right in front of the stadium, and some guy came and yelled at me. Not some guy, but like a security worker came and yelled at me to leave because I thought that view was better. I wonder if I could go back now that there's less players. How do you feel about the game? Nope. He didn't care. He doesn't care about how. I want to know how he feels about the game. I will say, Bucs fans were not confident in themselves. On the way over here, we walked. The closer that you got to the stadium, the more optimistic Bucs fans were, because it's about a 20-minute walk from my Airbnb to here, and I was walking. There was fans all over. Tampa. By the way, I'm in Tampa. It's hot as hell. It's humid and like 80. It's crazy because it's November. But there was like people with tents and chairs all set up, totally gonna watch the game, decked out in their Buccaneers gear. And I was asking people like, "Oh, how do you think they're gonna do?" And people were like, "Our defense sucks. We're gonna lose. We're gonna lose." And then like as you got closer, I was like, "How are you gonna do?" And they were like, "Eh." And then I was like, "How are you gonna do?" And someone was like, "Are you gonna win?" And someone was like, "Yeah," but like super timid, like a very, very timid. Yeah, they did not believe in themselves yet. And then literally like the people right outside the stadium tailgating, they said yeah, but still they were like, our defense though. And Tampa's defense did suck, but the 49ers defense was not much better. I don't know how Tampa Bay keeps themselves in this situation. I thought that they were potentially going to go into overtime again when it was 2020 with 40 seconds left. I was like, how does this keep happening? They were just in overtime with Patrick Mahomes. It's definitely clearing out. I bet I could move over to the field, but anyways, how do you guys feel about the game?
Amazing.
Yeah. It was good to have Christian McCaffrey back, huh? Okay, let's actually get to the stuff because I feel like I've been overwhelmed by all the people, and it's starting to die down. So 23-20, all the issues that the 49ers had going into the bye week still are present. My dad, who's a huge 49ers fan, told me to be honest on the stream and say that this was not a good game by the 49ers, and just because the 49ers won, which obviously they need a win, this is in division, not NFC West, but NFC, they need this win coming out of the bye week. Before the bye week, they needed to win that game, they needed to win this game, and they need to win the Seahawks, because then they have the Packers and Bills, and I feel like those are going to be really, really difficult games. And you just have to start stacking wins if you want to get into the playoffs right now, because the 49ers are not leading their division. So they're just trying to make it in. And then hopefully once they make it in, they can go on a roll and be their best self. But they're not there yet. So red zone issues. Like I said, Jake Moody, he missed 3 field goals. He also kicked multiple field goals because the 49ers can't score a fucking touchdown to save their life. This is still an issue, even with Christian McCaffrey. They couldn't run, like as soon as they got into the red zone, Christian McCaffrey was getting stuffed. They barely, by the way, and this pisses me off. I was hoping with the return of Christian McCaffrey that Kyle Shanahan would be creative and still utilize both Jordan Mason and Isaac Rendo with Christian McCaffrey. But I think Jordan Mason got like 3 carries, maybe 2. So it was just a full Christian McCaffrey game. And I'm kind of disappointed in that because they all have different running styles. Like Christian McCaffrey, obviously in the passing game, is the best running back that they have. I think Isaac Rendo, he maybe even has speed, just on speed, not physicality, but speed element. He even has more speed than Christian McCaffrey. If Kyle could call a creative play and bounce him outside, which, by the way that the Bucs were slowing down the 49ers is they were stopping everything in the middle. Like Tom Brady, who's the announcer for this game, kept talking about, he was like, all the 49ers plays are for the middle, and so the Bucs are just closing in and stopping that area, and they can't get anything on the outside. I mean, they did end up getting a couple plays. They got one that was to CMC, and he ran down the field pretty far before catching and then got some more yards, and then one that was short to George Kittle. But aside from, and maybe one to Ricky Pearsall, that was a little bit of an in-breaking route, but like I said, the Bucs defense sucked. So even though they were trying to stop everything in the middle, they did stop everything in the middle. But we'll get to highlights in a second. But just like the lack of creativity from Kyle Shanahan, that as soon as Christian McCaffrey comes back, he completely forgets about his other running backs. Where Jordan Mason at the goal line, I maybe tried them, because like Christian McCaffrey clearly purely as like a running back was not as successful as he normally is. I think that makes sense. Like he just hasn't actually practiced football, even if he's been in the weight room and rehabbing. That's a totally different level of activity. We know that Jordan Mason can get yards when he's running downfield, like into defenders. He can push them back. He's averaging, I think on his career, maybe 5 yards now. For a while he was averaging 7. But I know that he had a couple that were stopped. And then, like I said, Isaac Rendo, if you bounced him out, especially on all those plays where the defense was like really swarming in the middle and like stopping those over routes that the 49ers love so much, maybe, because once again, Isaac Rendo, I don't think he's the most physical player, but with all the defenders in the middle, he maybe would have to miss one guy and he could have ran and picked up a huge chunk play. And then in the red zone, they obviously turned to Christian McCaffrey, and I understand why they turned to McCaffrey, because he was their saving grace when they traded for him. And I think even George Kittle and Trent Williams both talked about like having him back feels like they just got him in the trade. But 49ers and Kyle need to be realistic that that's not the same Christian McCaffrey. At that time, Christian McCaffrey was not injured. He was coming off the Panthers, and he didn't have 2 years of wear and tear on him, where Kyle is, giving him 20, 30 carries a game for the last 2 years, and then he had a major bilateral Achilles tendonitis injury. Like, he's not that same guy yet. I'm not saying he can't be, but I just wish that Kyle was a little bit more creative in getting more people involved, because what he was doing wasn't working. Like, the Bucs defense isn't good, and they limited the 49ers to 20 points. 23 at the very end. Now they would have gotten more points if Jake Moody didn't miss literally 3 kicks. That's 9 more points they would have had, so they would have had 30 something points. Like how I couldn't do math right there that fast. Was 23 plus 9. Literally 10. They would have, no, not literally 10, 32. They would have 32 if Jake Moody didn't miss his field goals. But at the same time, like, why are the 49ers consistently relying on field goals? Like, this was the same issue even before McCaffrey before McCaffrey came back this game, is that they would get all the way down. 49ers, I got to check it because they had a bye week. But before the bye week, the 49ers were number 1 in getting down to the red zone. The number 1 offensive team. And then as soon as they got into the red zone, they were number 3. Or, like, worst in the... Sorry. They were number 1. And then they were 3rd worst as soon as they got to the red zone. And they got incrementally worse every 5 yards that they got closer to the end zone. So the red zone is like the 15 yards before the actual end zone. But when they were at the 10-yard line, when they're at the 5-yard line, 3-yard line, they got their percentage of actually scoring went lower, which is obviously doesn't make any sense because you're closer. But that's how bad the 49ers have been in the red zone. I do wish maybe Kyle Shanahan could have gone for it more. You have a whole entire week. You're going up against a team that just played Monday. They just played overtime on Monday. Their defense is one of the worst defenses, around. Like, I don't understand how you can still be struggling when you have all your stars. Like, I know the 49ers won this game, but Baker Mayfield, he only threw for 116 yards, where Brock Purdy threw for 353. And that's not, by the way, the defense stopping Baker Mayfield. That's the fact that they just couldn't run because they're missing 3 of their wide receivers. And then also Tristan Wirfs, their defensive guy, got ruled out, I think in the first quarter, maybe it was the second quarter by the time he got ruled out. But he went down really early on, and that defense was struggling even when he was on the field. So what I'm saying is 49ers got all their stars minus Charvarius Ward. Maybe this is, not great timing, but everyone after my stream, make sure to, if you have an Instagram, go send a heart to Charvarius Ward on Saturday. It was his daughter's funeral. She was 1 year old and passed away. I've talked about that on my channel before. I don't want to get too much into it, but the 49ers let him obviously take the week off. He's not injured or anything. John Lynch actually went to the funeral with some of the 49ers guys. I have a picture of that. Maybe I'll try to add it into, like I said, I'm going to do a more like a pre-recorded video after I listen to the injuries listen to the injuries. I'll do another one. So I'll put that picture in because I think it's really professional and kind of John Lynch to go to that. And I'm wishing Charvarius Ward and his family all the luck in the world. Something that he said on his Instagram is he wants his daughter to be remembered for the joy and smile she brought. She always had a giant smile. She was born with Down syndrome and heart problems, and she had surgery that they thought was, going to make her okay when she was first born, so, a year ago. And then they woke up in the morning and she had passed away. There's no way to transition off of that. I know that's a heavy downer. I just didn't want to say that the 49ers have everyone back because they are missing Charvarius Ward. And I didn't want to skip over that. But we'll get more into that later. I'm going to get back on a football team or, football talk, but I want to make sure that it's known that my heart goes out to him and I want to be sensitive to him, which is why I didn't want to skip over him in that section. He's not there. But on offense, Deebo Samuel was there. Juwan Jennings, who people have been asking, he suffered with a hip injury. He came back for his first game. Chris McCaffrey not only was back, but was back to run 1 million carries and in full force. The only times that he went out, according to the broadcast, were times that he took himself out of the game, and that was very, very little. Sorry, that was aggressive. So the 49ers, having all their stars, could not score a single they did score a single touchdown. George Kittle scored a touchdown. But they really struggled to score touchdowns. They really struggled in the red zone. And Tampa basically kept up with them, even though they are quite literally missing 4 of their stars. So that doesn't look good to me when it comes to the 49ers being able to beat a playoff level, like a good team. Because right now, Tampa, if they get into the playoffs, they're probably going to lose in the first round. Not because they're not feisty, they're very tough, but they just are missing too many guys. Although I think they are going to get Mike Evans and stuff back. Where the 49ers, they have their full crew. I don't know, this doesn't look like a team that can beat the Bills in Buffalo. This doesn't look like a team that can even beat the Packers. And then when they're going into the playoffs, Lions, this depth, the Lions would score 40 on the 49ers right now. The 49ers, I don't even know what they would do against the Lions defense. It was very disappointing to watch. Also, the penalties have been a huge problem all year, specifically from the leaders. I mean, Evan Anderson and some guys who aren't leaders were committing penalties, and that's unacceptable too. That's coaching. But a lot of leaders, like Fred Warner, who's, in my opinion, right now the best player on the football team, defense and offense, because Bosa has not been himself recently. Now he is dealing with a hip pointer injury, but he was able to play today, so wasn't bad enough to keep him out. Maybe he should have stayed out because he could not bring Baker Mayfield down. They were running straight at him, running around him. That play where he's holding on to Baker's arm and Baker's 5 yards and then completes the pass. It's Baker is 1/3 weighs 1/3 as much as Bosa does. That, and all I can think is either Bosa, in general, hasn't been as good as his, defensive player of the year this year at all, but also maybe that hip injury, because I didn't understand why he didn't tackle him. Maybe he was worried that could be a penalty because they were calling it, I know Brock Purdy, Tampa Bay got a roughing the passer penalty on Brock Purdy, so maybe Bosa was worried about what he could call, but not what he could call, but what he could do. But it was pretty embarrassing to have Baker Mayfield, he's like 6 foot or 5'11" or something. He's short as hell, way smaller than Bosa, and he dragged Bosa for 5 yards until he made a pass. I know I'm being really negative, and this was a win, and once again, you have to get wins to get into the playoffs. I'm so glad the 49ers are leaving here with a win. They need that. I think why I'm disappointed is 40 seconds left in the game, and I thought the 49ers were going to lose. And in the fourth quarter, the 49ers were losing. In the third quarter, the 49ers were losing. And this was a team that was playing on one leg. So, like, you have to, if you're a Super Bowl level team, that's what the 49ers want to be. Like, they paid all their guys. These are older veteran guys. They are trying to go to the Super Bowl, and you can't lose a game to a team that is, hobbling into their bye week. Okay. So I wrote down run defense, trash. Brock Purdy struggled in the first half, but really, and I put really in capitals, made up for it in the second half. Led the team on a game-winning drive, fourth quarter comeback. Jake Moody missed 3 field goals. Did it save his job? I just talked to some 49er fans. They think that did save Jake Moody his job. I'm not sure. And even if it saved Jake Moody his job, they need to fire freaking Brian Schneider. Why? I don't know why they didn't fire Brian Schneider. How are you feeling about Jake Moody?
We're feeling right.
Did he save his job?
No.
Did he save his job?
No.
Nope.
He did what he's supposed to do, but he's still fine.
I agree. Have a good one. I liked her Kaepernick's jersey. Everyone here, by the way, Southern hospitality. I went to Waffle House for the first time. I thought it was going to be more impressive. It's just like Denny's. But it was good. I mean, it was like eggs in oil. I don't know. Also, I'm gluten-free, so I didn't actually get the waffle. So that's, maybe I'm fucking up. Southern hospitality. What was I saying? Okay. So yeah, Jake Moody, did he save his job? I know she said no. I think he did save his job just because he's a 3rd-round pick. Like, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll cut him next year. But I don't think they're going to cut him in the middle of the season. But also, because I was just going to say, because, like, who are you going to get? But literally both kickers that they got off the couch when he was injured for the last 3 weeks, none of them missed a single. I mean, Andreas Carlson made every single kick and made a tackle. The guy before that, was it Mike Wright? Maybe it was Michael Wright. I don't know. Something Wright, the kicker that was before Andreas Carlson. He made all of his kicks, and but both of them ended up getting injured because the special teams suck so bad that they also can't make a tackle, and then the kickers had to tackle. So I don't know. I don't know if Jake Moody saved his job. I sure as fuck don't think that Brian Schneider should save his job. It would be really nice. I know Kyle Shanahan's talking right now. If when he went out to the media, he just said, actually, before I give you the injury updates, Brian Schneider's fired. Because also, like, Mitch Musowski, I can never say that word right. He was doing a 4th-round punter, and he couldn't punt it into the end zone, which was giving the Bucs an opportunity to run it. Jacob Cowing, who I do think should see the field more as a wide receiver, can't do shit as a punt returner. I mean, they just, like, special teams, I mean, you guys know. It's been awful, but it fucking wasn't any better today. Okay, so penalties, horrible. Penalties by the leaders, even worse. And this brings me to Deebo Samuel. I wonder if he's going to get fined for this. I wonder what's happening within the locker room, because after Jake Moody missed his 3rd field goal, the camera cuts away, and on the field you couldn't, like, it was too far away, you couldn't see what was going on. I was paying attention to the people on the field, not on the sideline, which sucks, because I will say I looked at Kyle Shanahan. I should have been looking at Deebo. I didn't know that. But I was looking at Kyle Shanahan when he missed that kick. Kyle Shanahan threw up his hands in there. He had a clipboard with him. I would do it right now, but I want this. But tossed his clipboard in the air and was like, what the fuck? Talk about someone who's interesting. Like, I wish the TV broadcast could do this, because you can only do it when you're seeing the game. If you just stare at Kyle, he is horrible at disguising his emotions when he's frustrated with a player. He did the same thing on a crossing route. Deebo caught it, and then immediately a defender kind of tackled him. And when you think Deebo, you think of he can break defenders and go for yak yards. But this year, and I know Deebo, I think he was questionable with a rib injury, so I wonder if that's still bothering him, because he's not the same Deebo Samuel right now. like I said, he caught the ball, defense hits him. He, instead of being able to, go forward, he kind of stalls for a second, then like 2 more guys come, and they push him backwards multiple feet. How are you guys feeling about the 49ers game? I love your hat. Yeah, they won. They won. Do you think that Jake Moody? We're recording on YouTube. I hope that's okay.
Okay.
But do you think that Jake Moody making the game winner saved him his job?
Maybe. I still think he should be released.
Yeah. I think maybe he'll keep his job for the rest of the year, but they won't bring him back next year. That's my thought.
Maybe.
But I don't know. The kicker that they got off the couch, both of them, neither of them missed a single kick.
I know. I don't know why they didn't go back with this.
I don't. It's because they spent a 3rd round pick on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was a good game.
A good game.
I like your Jerry Rice jersey too.
Thank you.
Okay. So, anyway, sorry about that. Okay, I think that I went over most of my takeaway. Oh, no, I didn't. Oh my God, I was just telling you guys the most important, in my opinion, takeaways, the leadership crumbling, and maybe players turning against each other, because Jake Moody misses that field goal kick. I'm stupidly looking at Kyle Shanahan say, what the F? And apparently I didn't pick it up, but I ended up seeing it on Twitter. I'll repost it on my Twitter if you guys follow me. And I wonder if I can record it and add it to the end of my video. I don't think that'd be a problem if it's on Twitter. Sometimes NFL gets weird and they will prevent you from putting stuff that was on the TV on your YouTube. But I think maybe one little clip will be fine. But anyways, what I think happened, let me set the scene. So Jake Moody walks off. You have the Colton McKivitz, I think Juwan Jennings, just all the guys that are sitting on the sideline. They're shoulder patting him, being like, "It's okay, dude, it's okay." Even though I'm sure all of them are like, "This isn't fucking okay." But obviously this is a mental issue for Jake Moody. He's made 65 plus yard field goals before, so he can make one that's he was, all 3 that he missed were less than 50 yards. He should be able to make those no problem. Robbie Gould, who was 80 years old, can make inside 50 yards. The reason they got Jake Moody is because they wanted to be able to make field goals that were farther away. But anyways, he's struggling mentally. So you could tell that most of the players, even if they were frustrated at Jake Moody, even if Jake Moody was going to get fired after the game, they were thinking, in case we need this guy to make one extra kick, we're going to prop him up. He's our teammate. And like I said, the whole team, there were so many errors. Inaccurate throws by Brock Purdy, a drop by Deebo Samuel, a drop by Juwan Jennings, and I'll get to that. These guys a lot of them were very good throughout the game, but the defense gave up within 1 minute left. The Buccaneers, I don't know how the Bucs didn't score a touchdown on this. That's why they're not very good, as you can tell. But within 1 minute left, the 49ers defense gave up 3 defensive penalties in a row and basically let the Bucs walk all the way down to the field. Luckily, they just couldn't get it into the end zone, and they ended up kicking a field goal, and that's how they tied it up at the end before the 49ers won. But, sorry, I got distracted by people talking. But so everyone's trying to hype Jake Moody up because it's clear that this is a mental issue. It's either the pressure, and I know he is coming off of a high ankle sprain. Something that's fucked up is Kyle Shanahan talked about when Jake Moody first got his high ankle sprain. They talked about putting him on IR, and then they were like, "Oh, it's so good that Jake Moody was able to heal so much quicker, so he didn't have to go on IR." I wonder, was he all the way healed, or did he feel pressure to come back because all these off the couch kickers that make way less money than he is were making all their field goals, and maybe he felt pressure to come back sooner. But I can't imagine that he wasn't kicking in practice, which they wouldn't have approved him to go in this game if he wasn't making field goals in practice, which means that this was just a mental issue. Last year, he missed tons of kicks, missed a kick in the freaking Super Bowl that could have won the 49ers the Super Bowl, and it's just mental errors with him. I know I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt of when you're a rookie, these things are the mental challenge is difficult. I know not Harrison Butker, that's the stupid chump guy from the Chiefs. The Jonathan Tucker, the Ravens kicker. He is a Hall of Fame kicker, and he struggled his rookie year. So 4 kickers rookie years can be hard. Also, Andreas Carlson, the guy that didn't miss any kicks for the 49ers that they had replacing Jake Moody off the couch, he got let go of the Packers last year after his rookie year because he was missing. So I know that a lot of these rookies that are struggling, it's a mental aspect. But then he came back this year, and before he got injured, he was missing multiple kicks. Then he gets injured, he comes back, he misses 3 in a row. All the guys are trying to like hype him up. Like I said, maybe it was bullshit. Maybe a lot of these guys are like, what the fuck is this guy doing? But at least during the game, like they might be like, we can talk to him after the game. But in the game, we want to keep his mentality high. I don't know what happened, but Deebo Samuel came over, I guess trying to scream, yell, maybe even hit Jake Moody because Taper Pepper, the long snapper, he ended up getting involved. I don't know, he's a whole thing on social media. I feel like he likes a lot of attention. Not that that's bad. I'm obviously doing YouTube. I like attention. But you don't really think of the long snapper as like the guy that wants all the media attention. But so he interferes with Deebo, who is clearly going after Jake Moody, and then the camera flashes to him, and the part that you see is Taper Pepper like trying to separate Jake Moody, and all of a sudden Jake Moody and Deebo's screaming at Taper Pepper. He throws a punch. I feel bad saying a punch because that seems like dramatic, and maybe it was like more of a hit, but it wasn't a slap. It was like in between a punch and a slap. He hits Taper Pepper, and then after hitting Taper Pepper, hits Jake Moody, and Jake Moody is holding Taper Pepper's face mask. You can tell he's, a kicker, not used to actually playing the game because you're not supposed to hold anyone's face mask, and he's holding Taper Pepper away from Deebo Samuel, and they're like, exchanging swear words with each other, and then obviously the camera pulled away, and like I said, I was stupidly looking at Kyle Shanahan when that happened, so I didn't see it until after. But just like the leaders on this team melting down, I don't know. I would like to know your guys' opinion, because like part of me thinks like that's horrible leadership from Deebo Samuel, because obviously this is a mental issue for Jake Moody. You can be mad and have your grievances, talk to him after the game, or talk to Kyle after the game. Like, you don't even really have to talk to him. Like, this is unimportant. Don't do it. Don't try to hit or swear at a teammate in the middle of the game when you can win the game, and they did win the game. So part of me thinks like that's so unprofessional. But then the other part of me has looked at these leaders recently and kind of been like, I wish he would say something more. Fred Warner last week on his podcast said that he knows Jair Brown doesn't get sleep before games. He plays video games all night long, and he knew that they were going to beat Dallas the week before the bye week because Jair Brown came into pregame warm-ups before the game all energetic, and apparently normally he doesn't. And Fred Warner asked him, like, did you finally get some sleep? Because he's been telling him to get sleep. And he was like, yeah, man, I did. And Fred Warner kind of told this story to his wife on his podcast, The Warner House. I was like, haha, young kids, they are always staying up playing video games, like not trying to take care of their body. And my takeaway was like, Fred Warner, you're a leader, and you've known that this safety, who's mightily regressed this year, by the way, Jair Brown has had a huge regression from last year under Steve Wilkes. You know that he's not properly preparing himself and sleeping the night before games, and you let this go as like a joke. You haven't, like, to me, I'm like, Fred Warner, you're like in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. Maybe not now because he did end up getting a penalty this game, but like he produces on the field, and he's a 10-year with the 49er. If someone was going to tell a rookie what they couldn't do, it would be Fred Warner. And like, you don't have to be an asshole about it, but you can be like, hey guy, that's not funny, and like, this isn't college anymore. This is a profession. This is a job, and we're taking this shit serious, and I know you're new to this, but like, we as a football team, like, we have a standard, and it's like, we have a standard, and it's like not acceptable for you to be coming in here on, little rest because you stayed up until 2 or 3 in the morning playing video games. So part of me understands what Deebo did, because I can't be mad that Fred Warner was passive. Because like I said, Fred Warner just said that he was like, haha, kind of jokes about it. He's like, hey, it's not my place to tell him what to do. And when I listened to that, I was like, Fred Warner, it's literally your place to tell him what to do. You're a captain. So Deebo Samuel, also a captain. And when I saw that, I was like, well, that's really, really bad leadership from a captain to go yell at your kicker in the middle of the game. And then I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe he's just showing he fucking cares. If they would have lost this game, I mean, it's already doesn't look like they're going to go far, because they were struggling to win a game against a team missing 4 of their stars. But if they lost this game, they're fucked because this is an in-division game. They've lost too many games to teams that they should have beaten. They have harder games on their schedule coming up. Like, they needed this win. They had to go all out. Christian McCaffrey had to play every single snap, basically, in order for them to win. So I kind of, at the same time, I respect Deebo Samuel for having passion and for holding his guys accountable. Maybe there's a different way he could have done it, but like I said, the cameras didn't catch it all. Maybe Deebo was going over there kind of like giving tough love, yelling, but not, hitting Jake Moody. And then all of a sudden Taylor Pepper came over and was like, hey, leave him alone. And maybe that's how Taylor Pepper and Deebo Samuel got into it. We don't know yet. Like I said, I will be following the end of this. I will be listening to Kyle Shanahan, who I'm sure will be asked about this because it was, like I said, broadcasted. Tom Brady talked about it. All the 49ers beat reporters, Matt Barrows and all those guys are circulating it on Twitter. So it's a big thing. I'm sure he's going to be asked about this. I'm sure he's going to be asked about other injuries. Before I get out of here, I do want to talk about the highlights of this game because, one, they won, and two, I think I have been mostly negative even though they won. But George Kittle, how many times do I, and honestly probably all of you guys, have to tell Kyle Shanahan to get George Kittle the ball, just in general, but also get George Kittle the ball in the red zone. He's a huge target. He's faster than most tight ends. He's more physical than most tight ends. He catches the motherfucking ball in the red zone. He did it when he was covered by 3 freaking defenders, and he made an incredible play today. He was one of the only ones that got them a touchdown within the red zone. I don't know, like, why does Kyle Shanahan not go to him more? It's Christian McCaffrey's first game back. Christian McCaffrey gets 25, 30 carries, multiple touches in the passing game. For some reason, George Kittle's fighting to get anywhere from 6 touches. George Kittle should get a minimum of 10 to 12 touches every single game. More than that, even. I just don't understand on third down why you would not use someone, because he's not the average tight end. He's so much faster than that. He's so much more physical. I know that they need to use him in the blocking game because the offensive line really struggles, but there's plenty of routes that he's not actually blocking. He's just being like a decoy. And right now, Deebo Samuel, who is dealing with that injury and just like isn't as physical, he is the 49ers decoy. Because defenses, they still key in on Deebo, but he's not going to get the ball as much, and he's not going to do as much when he does get the ball because he's just injured and he's not the player that he used to be. But George Kittle is the player he used to be. When he's given the opportunity, he can do that. If they were targeting him as much as they were in 2018, he would have that season. He is a Hall of Fame player. We saw it against the Cowboys just not last week, but right before the bye. When you trust Kittle, he makes it work. And all of this year with Christian McCaffrey out, the 49ers have struggled in the red zone, except for when they target freaking George Kittle. And for some reason, Kyle Shanahan acts like this is a mystery and only does it once a game. But anyways, he did do it this game, and just once within the red zone. But he also, made multiple catches outside the red zone, aside from his touchdown. But he, sorry, people are talking. I hope you can hear me. But George Kittle, incredible game. Ricky Pearsall got shot in the chest, came out of his back, literally got robbed, like the most physically terrifying, like could have died, should have died, injury. And then on top of that, the mental scar that has to have. And he looks, I feel bad because before his injury, I was hesitant. I felt like the 49ers drafted him too early. And like, that's still, to be known. But every time Brock Purdy targeted him, except for like one time, which I think he was kind of held in the beginning, because I actually think there was a flag, so I don't even think, I think I can just say he was held because there was a flag. Ricky Pearsall was so impressive. Like I said, he got shot less than freaking 90 days ago. He scored a touchdown today. He made multiple first downs. He was catching the ball. Like, when 49ers needed someone to go to, Ricky Pearsall had a way better game than Deebo Samuel did. I think the highlights of the game, Fred Warner, I know he had one penalty, but and he also had multiple missed tackles. The defense struggled today. Bernardo Green on defense struggled, but did really well in place for Charvarius Ward. Deommodore Lenoir did okay. I mean, you know that the cornerbacks did well just based on the fact that Baker only threw for 116 yards. Like, his wide receivers were not getting open against these cornerbacks. He could scramble because the D-line sucked. They were horrible. The defensive line, horrible. They weren't getting pressure on Baker. And then the run, they were running all over the 49ers. But throwing the ball down the field, Baker Mayfield had very limited options because those cornerbacks in Deommodore Lenoir, who's having, honestly, an all-pro season, and Renardo Green, who played for the majority of this game because Charvarius Ward was out, played extraordinarily well. Devondre Campbell fucking sucked. And I do feel like some of the plays that Fred Warner looked bad on, it was Devondre Campbell's fault. Like, there was a really pivotal play where it looks like Fred Warner kind of like goes too far and the runner runs right before him. But what you can see when they replayed it, and Brady and the other guy who was announcing called this out, was Fred Warner actually wasn't supposed to go that, and he spots out. So he like makes a good call. He realizes, okay, they're actually transitioning to a run. And he thinks because their assignment is that Devondre Campbell should be right behind him. So he kind of cuts under trying to tackle him here, knowing, hey, if I can't get to him, right behind me is Campbell. Well, fucking Campbell, I guess, decided to do the same thing. And they basically almost ran into each other. So not Fred Warner's best game, but I still want to highlight him because he's playing well. When we're talking about vets and leaders on the team, he's playing way better than Nick Bosa is this year. But on offense, George Kittle and Ricky Pearsall were so impressive. And then I know that it was a little inaccurate in the first half, but I think Brock Purdy mentally staying in it, throwing for over 350 yards, and then making that fourth quarter comeback. He protected the football, 2 touchdowns, I think. But just like I said, I mean, they couldn't have had a turnover in this game; they would have lost it. And Brock Purdy executed. He performed really, really well. So you've got to give him props. And then I probably want to say Christian McCaffrey. Like I said, he struggled. You could tell there was not the Christian McCaffrey pre-injury, but in the passing game specifically, I felt like he was a highlight, especially with Deebo Samuel. Like I said, really struggling. Maybe that's also why I looked at Deebo Samuel doing what he did, kind of sideways. It's like, okay, if you're struggling, dude, like if Deebo Samuel was having one of those games where he was just taking over the game, then maybe it makes sense for him to yell at Jake Moody. But it's like, Deebo, you're not performing well this game. You can't get mad at someone else. Like, if you could catch the ball and actually run into the end zone, you wouldn't even have to rely on this guy. I don't know. That could be too harsh, but it wasn't Deebo's best game. My highlights were George Kittle, Ricky Pearsall, who's just, I mean, what an impressive story. But outside of it being an impressive story, he actually looks like a good wide receiver. And then the cornerbacks really, really held it down. And they were the reason that Tampa's offense was as stagnant as it was. So anyways, I think I'm going to end it right here. Fernando, I can't do it. Fernando, I can't do it the way that Grant can. But he says, Jake Moody making my life living hell. I tell you, I know. It's a lot. It's a lot to lose that many. It's a lot. But I think I'm going to end this here. Maybe go find a spot actually in front of the stadium now that there's not as many people. Maybe I won't get yelled at. I really appreciate everyone who stuck with me through this all. I had to move all over. Like I said, there was so many people. If you were here from the beginning, you saw so many people walking by. But I want to listen to the injury report, and I also want to find out what did really go on with that Tabor Pepper Deebo fight. I will say someone, and I don't have this verified because they didn't show it, but someone did say after Jake Moody scored the game-winning field goal that Deebo was one of the first people that went out to congratulate him. So maybe Deebo's one of us. Emotions took over. He wanted to win this game. Tensions were high. The 49ers needed this. Maybe he was, maybe he realized he fucked up. Hopefully he talked to Tabor Pepper, apologized for the hit. I wonder if he's going to get fined for that. It was right in front of a ref. And looks supposedly like he went up to Jake Moody at the end. So anyways, please give me a like and subscribe. Like I said, here, Tampa, this is Raymond Field. I was really in front of here. But now I'm leaving my bag over here. But I was all in front of there until I got yelled at earlier, but now there's like no one here. But please give me a like and subscribe. When I'm done with this, if you guys can leave a comment, that really helps with the algorithm. And then I'll be right back with all the injury updates that are going to be from the coaches and Kyle, or coaches. All the coach, Kyle Shanahan, and all the players are going to talk. So I'll bring you guys updates from that. Jesus, I really appreciate it. This was only supposed to be like 15 minutes, but I got pretty distracted. I hope it was watchable. Let me know if you guys like this stuff. I've traveled to a lot of these games, and normally I do like pre-recorded videos and I upload them after. But I wanted to try something different, so I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. And like I said, I'll be back with another video with all the updates, injury updates, and fight updates after this, probably within the hour. Thank you guys. Bye. Have a good night, and stay hydrated if you drink a little bit. Bye bye.
Oh, you know.